Hi, this is Everett, Everett Studio. This is Simply Drawing with Everett, and I'm broadcasting live from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I'm on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitch. And this is Simply Drawing with Everett, and I'm in the studio tonight with my wife, Gloria.
Hello, everybody.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also checking the chat room. The chat room is live, and if you have any questions or comments during the broadcast, then write them down, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, tonight we're going to do another drawing. I'm going to start with a very basic shape tonight, which is a cube. And to me, a cube is always an interesting shape. We find cubes in all parts in nature and also all man-made objects. A lot of squares and cubes out there. But to draw them in perspective and so forth, it takes a little bit of study, and also be able to draw them so they look a little more accurately. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do a little bit of we're going to look over how to draw a cube and also look at it from a three-dimensional viewpoint. So let me go over to my close-up camera. So what I've got here, I've got a cube, block cube here, and it's a little block of wood, which it makes a good object to draw. And what I did was I put it on my still life setup over here, and I took a picture of it so I could get a different angle so I could be able to draw that tonight. So that's going to be the subject matter I'm going to draw. And some of the tools I have tonight, I'm just going to use the 4B pencil for sketching, and I might do some shading tonight to get the dark and light side. And then I'm going to use maybe the blender, little stump blender here to darken, or to blend up the shaded side. Now, I'm going to take you over to my other camera here for a second. We're going to talk about the cube. Put my overhead camera. And what I did, I took the same photograph and I put a large sheet of paper behind it, and I took a straight edge, and I took, instead of an exercise for sighting, I wanted to show here exactly the angles that this side here goes out at a certain angle, and then the bottom parallel side goes out at an angle, and they meet out here, and that's called a vanishing point. Where those sides meet, the top and the bottom of this cube, where it meets out here is called a vanishing point. And also here the top edge, the edge, this edge here, and then the edge over here. Again, I put the straight edge along that and drew that out, and the vanishing point is out here on this side. So, and if you'll notice the front edge of the cube, which is the closest one to my viewpoint here, the front edge of almost anything is the closest edge. This is going to be the longest side of the cube. This side is longer than this side back here. That's because of the perspective. I'm looking at this at an angle, so this edge back here is going to be shorter than this edge here. And also over here to the left, if I do the same thing, I did the same thing here to the left side. I put another piece of paper over here and extended the length. And I drew the angles. I put the straight edge on the side, up here at the top edge, and also here at the other top edge over here in the front top edge. And they all converge at another vanishing point way off here to the left, a different vanishing point. And then the bottom side, the bottom edge, I drew that line in. And you can see here that this line in the front is longer than this line back here. So the longest side is right here. These are two shorter lines, okay? And also there's a difference here between these lines, but we're not going to go into that because you can see the angle here. As this converges, it means this side here is shorter than this side over here. Same way down at the bottom. Okay, so I thought I'd show that to you, a little bit of analytical study here of drawing a cube. Now we're not going to draw lines in tonight, but just to give you an idea that, just to get the perspective of a cube, knowing that this is what happens as far as drawing, this is how we're going to draw it. All right, so I'll put that aside. Now let's go back over to my close-up camera. Now, let's get a little piece of paper out here and get my pencil. And a little demonstration of how to draw this. So I'm going to start, I know the front edge is the longest side. I'm going to start with the front edge. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to do a look at the line. It's straight. The verticals are all straight up and down. So I'm going to start with that edge right there. Okay. Now by sighting, I already know this angle here, very shallow. This angle here is going to angle back that direction, and the angle up here is going to have a slightly different angle going back. And the vertical edge, I'm going to approximate the, now here I can make this square any size I want, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to make another vertical side. So I've got the one side of the square done here, one side of the cube done here. I got the top, I got the bottom, and the two sides. Okay, now I'm going to go over here and look at the bottom edge. The bottom edge, the angle, I'm going to approximate that to be, here we go. I'm going to approximate that angle to be out there, just about like that. Okay, and then the top angle, it's going to be a little, it's going to be, this one's a little more, this angle down here is a little short. This one's going to be a little, coming in just a little bit, based on my study of the lines I drew, the perspective lines I drew in the diagram before. So this is going to come in a little bit more. So then I can draw this line down to get this side. I got this side of this cube here. Now the back angle, now this one here, now if I was, this angle here is going to be in a little bit sharper now, this angle is going to angle in because it's in perspective. And then this side back here is going to come across. I'm going to change this side here a little bit, okay? So I'll make a little modification on my drawing, okay? And I'll take my eraser. So you have to make adjustments as you're making your drawing to make sure that its angle, it does what you want it to do. That it looks like what you want to look at. And this angle here could be a little bit longer, could be a little bit shorter, and I'm going to make this, okay. So by observation, I'm looking at that shape now of that particular square. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to make some decisions here based on the photograph. This is the lightest side here. I'm going to leave that white. This side up here is slightly darker than this side because the light is not shining up here. So I'm going to shade this in a little bit, about a middle shade. And down here, this side's further away. The light's coming from this angle, so this is going to be the darkest side over here. And I made some arbitrary. I made just the darkest side because it's the furthest side away. And I don't have a shadow pattern tonight, so I'm just going to draw in the shape of the cube. Okay. Then I'm going to take the blender and blend this in just a little bit, just to get some sides on here. And if I look at the, let's say I look at this a little bit, and I probably can make this a little bit wider. So I'm making some minor adjustments here on my square. I'll make this a little bit wider, and bring this down. Take this out. So based on observation, I'm making a few changes here on the cube. And what I'll do is I think my shading here, I'm going to take the eraser and take a little bit of this off here, make this a little bit lighter on the top. So I'm taking some of it off. So I'm making some modifications as I draw. Take the eraser and take a little bit of that off. Then I'll take the blender and put some of that back in. Okay, now it's starting to look like the square, all right? then this side over here. Okay. All right, so what I've done, I've done a square, and remember this is a just a visual perception, and you can fine tune it a little bit. You can change, you look at the size a little bit, compare it with the diagram and so forth, and without measuring. I don't want to make any measure, just did it from observation. Okay, so that's how I would draw a square. I got number one. I started with the dimension. I went back. This side back here is shorter. This is the longest side of the cube. This side over here is a little bit shorter over here. And the perspective lines are going to go back. They're going to go back into a vanishing point back here. And this side over here, a vanishing point over here. Okay, so that's how you would draw a three-dimensional cube, starting with the longest side and then spreading out the edges in those different angles. Okay. All right. Now, talking about an object that we could draw using the square. I picked an automobile. So I picked this car here. I took a picture of in a parking lot, and let's go ahead and draw that. I'm going to use some squares. So the first thing I'm going to do, there's two squares I'm going to use. I'm going to use a front square, which will be the front side. And I'm going to take this part here, and it's at a slope. So I'm going to get the outside, basically outside shape of the object. So what I did here now, I just took I took this space right here. I took this space here, this side and this side over here, and I went back and I drew a cube that would combine that area right there. So that's really the front hood of that vehicle. You'll notice this side over here is shorter, this side is longer. As it goes back, it gets a little bit thinner, right back to here. All right, now I'm going to make a little judgment here on the angle of the windshield. And I'm going to draw another cube, which is the back part of the car. And I'm going to take that back. That's a little bit longer. Let's see, that's probably twice as long as this side here. And it's parallel. So I'm going to keep that line going straight back. And this up here on the top of the roof, I'm going to put that back. I'll keep it in a square form. But it's in perspective because it's at an angle. So I'm going to take this edge here. Let's take this edge here and make it twice the distance back. Okay. All right. So I use a little bit of sighting there. So this box here is about right there. And then I'm going to put there's not much showing. The top of the roof is just a little bit. So this comes up. Okay. And then I can connect. Now I can go ahead and I can approximate the wheels. I've got what I'll do, I'll draw in the first box. I'll rough in the edge of the wheels. Over here, I've got this box down here. Come back. This will be parallel, about the size of that. The wheels will be parallel. The wheels are the same size. So I'll make that edge there, shame. Okay, now, I think what I'll do now is make this a little higher. Make this just a little bit higher. So I'm going to make another adjustment here. Okay, now I can go ahead and rough in. I can go ahead and rough in the the windows. The window here, this window here is about the size of that one. It goes right about there and it goes back. And there's a division here of the front window. Okay. Then what I can do is the headlights are up here in the front. The grill. And then the bumper down here, I can put that in. So then I can go ahead and start. Then I can start, say, tailoring the back slope. The window, the back of the car slopes down a little bit more, like that. Get the shape a little better. The hood, the top of it's got a little bit curve to it. This window here has got a curve to it. There's a door. There's a door line here. There's another door back here. Okay, and then I can start adding in the curves up here. Let's just curve down here a little more. So now I'm starting it. Now I'm going in and I'm modifying the curves on the actual shape here. But the wheels down are down here, and I can actually the wheels I got some dimension to them. So I can get a pretty good idea. Now when I get to a certain point, then I can start erasing some of my construction lines. And what I always like to do on most of the vehicles that I draw, I shade in the glass. This is a windshield. I will shade that in, and I'll shade in the side glass and then the back glass. Then I can shade in the wheel wells and the wheels. Get a little shading in there. And the other front wheel over here. And the back here, the rear wheel. The other wheel on the other side is not visible, so we won't show that. This wheel well has got it shadowed in. So if you're doing a drawing or a painting using a car, then this gives you a fairly good idea. And of course you can always wordsmith, you can always change some of the shapes of this. You can always work on the angles, the shape, the sizes, and so forth. But at least gives you a starting point of a particular element. So when I draw a subject like this, like say it's a car, it could be a building which has a lot of square sides to it and so forth. I always start with a square. And I started with a square out here for the front area. I made that into a cube with an angle to it because it's angled back. Then I made another square for the back side. And then I went and I rounded off the edges, its corners, to form the shape. And then I can go ahead and add in details. I get a side mirror here on this side, a little side mirror over here. So you can start adding in all the little details. And shade in the windows a little bit more. Shade in the tires a little bit more. Get a little darker in the wheels and the wheel wells. And the bumper up here has a little bit of color, a little bit of shadow down here. Not shadow, but dark. Okay, well that's a rough drawing, a rough perspective of a vehicle, and this is one of many. You can go to a parking lot anywhere in town, and while you're sitting in your car or whatever, you can sit there looking through the window and do a quick sketch and drawing a shape of a vehicle or a truck. A truck would have would maybe have some boxes on it, and or you can find boxes stacked against a building or something like that, and you can just draw squares. And then when you do a building, you can do the square. You can also make bricks on a building, the bricks that go up the wall. They're also a bunch of squares. So there's all kinds of ways you can use squares in order to do a drawing. And so this is one recommendation I have you do. So this square up here, let's do a little review. This side here in the front is the longest, and then perspective-wise, it's going to slope back toward the back. This is going to slope downward a little bit. This is going to slope up. It's going to slope down. So this side here is going to be shorter. This side will be shorter than the front. Then we go to this side over here, and this side is going to, whatever angle you're looking at, is going to go here, and this angle is going to be shorter on this side. So this eye here, this angle here, this side here is going to be shorter than over here also, because this is going to start angling down. This is going to start angling up. This will go down. This will go up. It'll meet out here somewhere at another vanishing point. And the top will do the same thing. This is sloping this way, and this will slope. This will come in this way a little bit. So that makes this side here, back side, shorter than the front side up here. So this side compared to this side, this is long, this is shorter. This is longer, this is shorter. This is longer, this is shorter. And that's the definition of a cube in perspective, looking at it from a top view. Okay? If you're looking at it from some other angle, then you could draw it a different way. Let's say if we're looking at it from above, you'd have the four sides of the square. The bottom would show. This is the bottom of the box. This would be the front side up here, and I'd be looking up at the top. Here I'm looking down. I'm looking down at it. Here I'm looking up at the bottom. So the bottom would be here. So the same idea there. If I had a box up above my head, I'd be looking at the bottom and the two sides. Here I'm looking at the top and the two sides. So depends on the viewpoint you have of a particular object that you would draw it that way. And just draw what you see. That's all I'm doing here. I'm drawing what I see. As far as a box here for an object, such as a car, then use the box technique to the overall shape. Well, the overall shape fits into a box. If I was to draw an overall shape, you start with the overall shape, and then you break it up into smaller boxes. Okay, that's another way of looking at it. Start out with an overall shape, length, height, width, and then you break it down into smaller areas, into a front area and into the back area. Okay, so those are examples of what you can do to use the cube. I think take a basic shape like a cube and then use it for drawing in both. Let's go ahead and get back to the main camera. So, as I started in the beginning, a cube or a square is one of the basic shapes for drawing. But if you analyze a square and the cube, you'll find that a lot of things, look around the house, you'll find a lot of things that have a square configuration. You'll go outside in nature, you'll find a lot of things that have a square shape, especially man-made items, buildings and structures that have square shapes and straight edges and so forth. You'll find a lot of square. The car I showed you there has a square shape, but then you can break it down into two smaller shapes. So that when you draw something like that, it's best to use it. Start with a square and then add to it. Then go back and modify the edges. Then after you get the edges, after you get the overall view, overall shape down, then go back and add in the details, the windows, the tires, the grill, as far as the car is concerned. in a building, you would add the windows and doors and the roof and stuff like that. So that's how you would draw something with a square or a cubular shape. So that was that was a lesson today of starting with a basic shape and then drawing that, and also finding an object around somewhere that's got a cubical shape. So that will finish up today's lesson or demonstration. I'll be back again next week on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'll also be painting on Thursday, next Thursday, at starting at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to check in my painting class or my drawing class, I'll see you next Thursday. So until then, happy drawing, and hope to see you on the YouTube or on the Facebook or on Twitter. Excuse me, on Twitch or on LinkedIn next week. So goodbye.